In Peru, the Supreme Court of Justice ratified a preventive detention order against former President Pedro Castillo. And Palestine authorities announced during Christmas Eve the cancellation of the festivities in the city of Belen. In Syria, authorities denounced the ongoing U.S. looting of oil in the northeastern province of Hasakeh. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Peruvian Supreme Court of Justice ratified a preventive detention order against former President Pedro Castillo. According to the judicial court, Castillo's defense did not present sufficient arguments to eliminate the conviction elements found against him by Public Prosecutor's Office. Pedro Castillo faces 18-month preventive imprisonment for the alleged crime of rebellion and conspiracy after he announced a Congress dissolution on December 7, 2022, due to the political persecution directed by this entity against him. In addition to this, there is another 36-month preventive jail order for allegedly having committed corruption offenses in abuse of his power. In Nicaragua, 2 people were found dead after the sinking of a boat in the surroundings of Corn Island in the Caribbean region. The Nicaraguan Navy searched, saved, and rescued 30 people who were on board the boat traveling from San Andres Islands to Corn Island in the Caribbean Sea. The sailors rescued alive are from Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, and India. The 2 deceased are Venezuelans. One of them is a 4-year-old girl. Also in Nicaragua, over 19 people were killed in a traffic accident in the center of the country. Vice President Rosario Murillo expressed her solidarity with the affected families. According to her statements, the accident took place in the department of Matagalpa, when a collective transport with 70 passengers lost control in the sector of Mancera, some 200 kilometers north from the capital of the country. According to the authorities, among the deceased there are 10 children, while 43 people were injured. A court in El Salvador ordered the arrest of former President Alfredo Cristiani on Saturday. He is accused of covering up those responsible for the massacre of El Mozote in 1981. The military attack, committed with the participation of the United States in the framework of the Civil War, left at least 1,000 dead. The order, issued in the city of San Francisco Gotera in the northeast of the country, which requests the provisional arrest of the former president, also involves 8 other people, including former Congressman Ruben Zamora. Human rights activists claim that this is a political persecution for being a critical voice of President Nayib Bukele. In the United States, a shooting at a Florida mall left at least 1 man dead and 1 woman wounded. Ocala police reported that they received multiple emergency calls indicating shots fired inside the Paddock Mall. Authorities said the man was shot and killed, while the woman was transferred to the hospital with a leg wound. They also stated that the suspect fled, leaving the firearm behind, and is currently being investigated to find his whereabouts. On Sunday, local media reported that in India, at least 35 people lost their lives and more than 85,000 people were displaced by the floods in the south of the country. The figures were released by the authorities after the search and rescue operations were concluded, in which about 50,000 people were rescued from the flooded areas, who are currently in shelters receiving medical attention. In turn, local government assured its efforts are now focused on restoring basic services to the Tamil Nadu region and villages in the affected state. In this sense, they also noted they are working on restoring rail connectivity in the area. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. The government of Palestine announced during Christmas Eve the cancellation of the festivities in the city of Belen. Mayor Hannah Hanania decided to cancel the Christmas celebrations this year as inappropriate given the moment the Gaza Strip is facing with the Israeli attacks. She also expressed that the birth of Jesus is a message of hope for the children of the world and cannot be celebrated when thousands of children are being killed in Gaza. Hanania added that about 1,000 citizens of Belen are affected by the escalation of violence perpetrated by Israel. In Palestine, Gaza residents continue to be victimized by the Israeli occupying army. Over the weekend, a group of Palestinians was released by Israeli forces after being detained for some 20 days. Several of them were taken to Gaza hospital to be thoroughly examined and treated after spending days without food, tied up with iron chains, exhibiting deep wounds. Still, there are more Palestinians being held hostage by the Israeli army, who denies them food, water, and other necessities. The occupying forces only aim to exterminate the Palestinians.
Estábamos durmiendo en la casa.
We were sleeping in the house. We woke up in the morning and suddenly we saw the Jews at our door. They took us by force from Zeytun to a place we don't know. They left us 2 days without food and then they took us to another place. We don't know where. We were blindfolded. There was no food or water. We were hungry and thirsty. We had to ask permission to pray, and when they saw us praying, they told us to pray with our eyes. I could not disinfect my wounds. I could only change the dressing every 6 days. This was my situation. Now we only want the rest to be released because I swear to God, we have gone through a lot of suffering, and the others who stayed behind are also suffering. Every time I look up, they shoot at me and told me to keep my head down. If I say anything, they told me to shut up. It was a great suffering. The word suffering doesn't begin to cut it. We had spent 20 days with our hands tied up with iron chains. Look how my hand is because of the nerves. I cannot lift it for having been for so long with my hands chained behind my back.
The Israeli occupation forces continue to kill with impunity Gazan women and children. More than 45 people have been brutally murdered in the last hours. The genocidal operation that the Zionist army is deploying over Gaza has reached its 79th day. The day was inaugurated with the bombing of the Jabalia refugee camp and the kidnapping of young men and women at the Al-Rafi school. The airplanes dropped white phosphor bombs on the neighborhood of Harm, where the Zionist army is trying to advance by land without success. The preliminary balance of the day, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, puts the death toll at 20,258, of which 6,200 are women and 8,200 are children. Meanwhile, the number of wounded exceeds 54,000. There are more than 7,000 bodies under the rubble. On Sunday, the Organization for the Liberation of Palestine urged the international community to exert pressure on Israel to force it to declare a permanent and total ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. The Refugee Affairs Department of the organization issued a statement on Sunday stressing the need to ensure the return of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees to northern Gaza. This was considered a priority by the organization due to the urgency of providing aid to the Palestinian people suffering under deadly conditions. The Palestinian Liberation Organization also called on the international community to increase the volume of funding for this UN agency in order to improve and expand its services, aid, and humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people. On Sunday, thousands of Moroccans took to the streets of Rabat in support of Gaza. Organizers of this mobilization in Morocco point out that their aim was to raise awareness about the Palestinians in order to move on to other phases of support, to another dynamic that will leave a greater impact than the demonstration of support, and to stop this Holocaust and genocide against the Palestinian people. In this sense, the demonstration also demanded the end of the normalization between Morocco and the Tel Aviv regime. On the other hand, Bouker El-Bankari, coordinator of the Moroccan Front for the Support of Palestine, reiterated his support for the Palestinian cause and rejected the policy of exclusion that the Israeli occupation forces are imposing in Gaza.
All these demonstrations and marches organized worldwide, and especially this one on Morocco, aims to raise awareness of the situation in Palestine, but we need to move on to another stage of support, to another dynamic that will leave more of an impact that the support march and to stop this Holocaust and genocide against the Palestinian people. Thousands of Moroccans have been out on the streets since October 7th to say one word, which is this: the Moroccan people want to abolish normalization with Israel. The Moroccan people have been demonstrating since October 7th with this slogan. We wonder what the Moroccan state is waiting for today to abolish the normalization agreements. Is it waiting for Gaza and the whole of Palestine to be completely annihilated? Or what is it waiting for?
On Sunday in Syria, the authorities denounced that United States troops illegally present in their nation looted a new batch of oil northeast of the northeastern province of Hasakeh. A convoy of 44 tanker trucks with stolen fuel left Syrian territories towards Washington bases in Iraq through the illegal crossing of Mahmoudiya. In this sense, Damascus denounced the damages caused to the oil industry, calculated in the order of $115 billion in crude oil as a result of the plundering carried out by Washington. The Syrian government demands that the officials be held accountable for these thefts while urging an end to the illegal presence of U.S. forces in its territories. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. 5 people were wounded in Russia on Saturday after an attack by the armed forces of Ukraine in the Belgorod province. Local authorities report that the incident took place on a bridge in the Kraivoronsky district while road workers were carrying out repairs in the area. They also said that the 5 injured are receiving medical attention and that their health is moderate and they are all being evaluated at the moment. According to the authorities, the Ukrainian army used a kamikaze drone to attack the bridge in the Belgorod province. In Indonesia, Saturday night, at least 12 people were killed and nearly 40 injured from a fire at a nickel processing facility at Morowil Industrial Park. Morowil Industrial Park spokesman, Dedi Kurniawan, said the incident occurred at around 9:30 a.m. local time when repair works was being done on a boiler containing a flammable liquid. Preliminary analysis indicates that the deflagration generated in the boiler reached the oxygen tanks. The explosion caused a huge blaze, which was finally brought under control on Sunday. The Chinese government urged the authorities in the northwest part of the country to guarantee living conditions for the victims of the recent earthquake. Chinese Premier Li Qiang toured disaster areas in Gansu and Qinghai provinces, where he learned about resettlement work and the construction of temporary housing for quake victims. He said it was a priority to provide quake survivors with facilities for them to keep safe and warm throughout winter. Li Qiang urged to shake and reinforce buildings in the affected areas so that residents can return to their homes and hospitals may be reopened. The premier urged for more relief supplies to be sent to the victims in the settlements and for the speeded up construction of temporary houses for those living in tents. In Sri Lanka, some 15,000 people were arrested by police forces during an operation called Yuktiya or Justice to put an end to drug trafficking and criminal activities in the country. According to a statement issued by law enforcement authorities, of the nearly 15,000 people detained, 13,666 were arrested and another 100,000 addicts were sent to compulsory rehabilitation in an institution run by the army. According to the document, security forces seized 440 kilograms of drugs in 1 week, which were taken from the streets of Colombo and other territories. Operation Yuktiya will be interrupted during Christmas holiday season and will restart after next Tuesday. The Society for Worldwide Interbanking and Financial Communications records an increase in the use of the Chinese yuan in international payments. The Chinese currency has positioned itself as the 4th most used currency for global payments, with a share of 4.61%, according to the latest transaction data compiled. Swift pointed out that the US dollar tops the list of international transactions, followed by the euro, while the Japanese yen remains at a lower level. The yuan's rise reflects Beijing's efforts to promote the use of its national currency and currencies other than the dollar in trade with Russia, Middle Eastern countries, and Latin America. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.